Hello grade 9 students. In the previous session, we learned about the 3 types of Mendel crosses. In this session, we will cover these objectives. Let's recall the types of crosses in the case of dominance. They are hybridization, which is done between parents of pure lines, and it gives 100% hybrid descendants. The second cross is self-fertilization, which occurs between hybrid parents expressing the dominant allele, and it gives 75% descendants expressing the dominant allele and 25% expressing the recessive allele. The third cross is test cross, which is done between parents, one expressing the dominant allele and the other expressing the recessive allele. If the parent expressing the dominant allele is heterozygous, then 50% of the descendants express the dominant allele and 50% express the recessive allele. If he is dominant homozygous, then the descendants will be 100% hybrids. While Mendel was conducting experiments on the pea plants, he formulated certain laws to understand inheritance, known as Mendel laws. The first law is the law of uniformity of hybrids of the first generation F1, which means that, upon crossing parents of pure lines, all the hybrids of the F1 are identical, having the same phenotype and the same genotype. The second law is the law of independent segregation of the traits or factors, which means that the alleles of the F1 hybrid separate independently of one another during gamete formation. Also, fertilization, which means the union of the gametes, happens at random, and it results in heterogeneous F2 generation. The third law is the law of purity of gametes, which means that each gamete carries one allele for a given gene. The previous Mendel laws are the basic rules of Mendelian genetics, but as scientists began exploring more and more test crosses, they found tons of traits that didn't match up nicely with what these laws predicted. In the real world, genes often come in many versions or alleles. Alleles aren't always fully dominant or recessive to one another, but may instead display codominance and incomplete dominance. Let's start with codominance. When crossing a purple flower with white one, they give the purple flowers in the first generation. Then, the purple allele is dominant over the white allele. Purple is symbolized by capital P and white by small w. Now, another cross is done between a red flower and a white flower, gives red spotted white flowers. Now, which allele is dominant, red or white? Since red and white are both seen in the phenotype of the first generation, so both alleles are dominant. We call them codominant alleles. Each one is symbolized by a capital letter. Then, this is the state of codominance, since both codominant alleles, red and white, are equally expressed in the phenotype of the F1 generation. Now, since F1 generation are homogeneous, parents are pure and F1 are hybrids. Make factorial analysis to determine the phenotypic and genotypic percentages of F1 generation. Genotypes of the parents are RR and WW. Suppose this is the male and this one is the female. Gametes of the parents are: all the male gametes will carry the R allele and the female gametes carry the W allele. When fertilizing the male and female gamete, we get 100% generation with RW. The phenotype of the F1 will be RW, which means red spotted white. This cross is called hybridization. Let's do application number 1 with each other. Another cross is done between two purple striped flowers from F1 generation. The following results are obtained in F2 generation: 5 white flowers, 5 purple flowers, and 10 purple striped flowers. Calculate the percentages of the F2 generation. Make factorial analysis to verify the phenotypic percentages of F2 offspring and name the type of the cross. Number 1, we want to convert the numbers in the given into percentages. The first step is to get the total number of flowers by adding them. 5 plus 5 plus 10 gives 20. The percentage of white flowers is the number of these flowers divided by the total number of flowers and then multiplied by 100. It gives 25%. Similarly for the other flowers. Second question is about the factorial analysis. We start with the genotypes of the parents, which are PW for each, male and female. Second comes the gametes of the parents, where the male gives two types of gametes, one carrying P and the other W. Similarly for the female. Third comes the percentages of the gametes, which is 50% for each. Fourth, we draw the Punnett square and write all the previous data in it. The symbols of male and female, the male and female gametes with their corresponding percentages. Step 5 comes the fertilization, which is the union between male and female gametes. We get the following genotypes of F2, and each forms 25%. Step 6 is to draw the T-chart of genotypes and phenotypes of F2. PP gives P, purple with a 25%. PW gives PW, purple striped white with 50%. And WW gives W, white with a 25%. As you can notice, the results of factorial analysis are comparable with those mentioned in the given. This cross is called self-fertilization. To conclude, when white crosses red gives red spotted white, then this is the state of codominance, since both alleles, red and white, are equally expressed in the first generation. Each allele is then symbolized by a capital letter. Let's move to another cross. Red flower is crossed with yellow one. The result is an orange flower. This color orange is a mixture of red and yellow. Then, an intermediate trait appears. This state is incomplete dominance, since there is appearance of intermediate phenotype, and each allele is symbolized also by capital letter. Let's see the genotypes and phenotypes of F1. Since we have homogeneous generation, parents are pure and the offspring are hybrids. The phenotype is then WR, which means white spotted red. Similarly for incomplete dominance. So the phenotype of orange is not O, but RY. Let's evaluate our understanding by solving application number 2. Identify the type of inheritance in each case. Black crossed with white gives a black spotted white. Second case, black spotted white gives gray. Which one is the state of codominance and which one is incomplete dominance? The first one is the state of codominance, since both alleles black and white are equally expressed in the F1 phenotype. The second case is incomplete dominance, since an intermediate trait gray appears in F1 phenotype. To sum up, in the case of non-dominance, we have two types of crosses, hybridization and self-fertilization. Hybridization gives 100% hybrids F1, while self-fertilization gives three different phenotypes of the percentages 25%, 25%, and 50%. In the case of dominance, one allele dominates the other allele and masks or hides its appearance. In the case of non-dominance, we have codominance and incomplete dominance. In the state of codominance, the two codominant alleles are expressed together in the phenotype of offspring. In the state of incomplete dominance, the two intermediate alleles lead to the appearance of a new intermediate phenotype. Finally comes the assignment. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your time.